Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that introduction and some of the numbers that were thrown out. I'm going to go over a little bit of that as well. Look, I just want to thank you for taking the time here on a Monday night to come out. And some of you are here, you're faithful party supporters. Some of you are here, you are not a party supporter of any type, but you're here with an open mind. I appreciate that. But whatever reason you're here tonight, I'm glad you're here, because it gives us an opportunity to simply tell you and to show you a little bit about what we think can be done to get the province on the right track. Bonsoir à tous et merci pour assister au Real Choices Tour ici à Moncton. I want to begin by thanking Tim for helping to set up and arrange this, this gathering here tonight, this event. We do have some of our board of directors here as well. I do want to mention them. Tim Lyons is one of our board of directors here. He also looks after our riding associations. So as we tour the province, we're building riding associations throughout New Brunswick. Tim is the main guy on that to help organize it. Wes Gullison is out working the table. He's our communications director. He's been working hard, trying to keep us in the media, trying to keep us in the spotlight with press releases. And I do want to mention with the media, because I get all the time people ask me, why are you not in the media more? If we could control that, we would. But unfortunately, we put press releases out and they don't always get picked up. So nonetheless, Wes works diligently every week, every couple weeks. We put out a press release. If a hot topic comes, he's there to put a press release out as well. Carl Bainbridge is here with us, our vice president of the party as well. And I hope I'm not missing any of our directors. If I do, I'll hear about it next board meeting, I'm sure. But we're glad that you're here tonight. I also want to thank the Moncton Wesleyan Celebration Center for the work that they've done getting this set up. Beautiful facility, and so glad to be here. Just by a show of hands before, say, tonight or before you heard about the event tonight, how many of you have heard about the People's Alliance of New Brunswick? Okay, that's good. Some haven't. That's okay. We understand we're somewhat new. We started in 2010. And the formation of the party was built on a complete distrust, a sense of cynicism, and a skeptical viewpoint of the two-party system. When we look at our province today, it's very evident that the system by which we are operating now is not serving the people of this province. So in 2010, we said it's time to branch out and to start our own party that puts the people back at the center of government and politics. I've personally witnessed, and I know you have as well, MLAs being forced to toe party lines despite concerns from their own constituents, which continues to stay. I mean, how many of you folks have voted in an election, you elect an MLA, they go to Fredericton, and they do Fredericton's bidding? They're not there to represent you, they're there to represent their party. And what we've done over the years is we've degraded our democracy to a place where we no longer have representation by those we elect to represent us. New Brunswick no longer has that true form of democracy where the elected official goes to Fredericton and relays the concerns and the wishes of their local area. What we have today instead is elected officials coming from Fredericton to tell the local area how things are going to be. It's backwards and it's counterproductive. It has created a system by which the party's agenda trump the voice of the people, and a few select individuals within caucus or cabinet rule with absolute authority over a 4-year term. Folks, the system that we have today has resulted in poor decisions and has rewarded only the most faithful party supporters while you and I foot the bill. The current system of government has resulted in the potential loss of NB power to Hydro-Quebec. Not too many years ago, I remember protesting on the front lawn of the legislature with thousands of other New Brunswickers saying this is crazy that we're going to give away our Crown Corporation to Quebec. How many of you remember the Atcon scandal?
Yes, Lord, yes.
Huh? Over 70 million of our dollars gone. We don't even know where it went. When asked If the Auditor General would do a forensic audit, the government very quickly shifts and gets away from the question. And you know what really bothers me is now we have an opposition in the PC party who's now questioning the government on ATCON. But my question is where was the opposition when they were in government to actually investigate when they were in power? And so we see this ping-pong back and forth political games that are being played to manipulate, to deceive, to fool, and to keep all of us downtrodden enough that we don't dare stand up and demand that we want a different form of democracy in our province. How about the Alward Forestry deal, which was supposed to revolutionize New Brunswick, create thousands of jobs? I'm not seeing them. The two-party system has often been controlled by a media monopoly here in New Brunswick that has resulted in an over 9% unemployment rate, a $347 million projected deficit, and a $13.4 billion debt. Our young people are graduating our schools, universities, and colleges and boarding the first plane to anywhere but here. Our illiteracy rate hovers around 52% due to the lack of government support, while the same government funds segregation by demanding that our French and our English kids travel on 2 separate buses. Folks, it is a sad state in New Brunswick today when we rank at the very bottom in education in terms of math and literacy skills. Teacher morale is at an all-time low. Do we have any teachers in here tonight? A couple of you. Look, we appreciate what you do, and your job gets tougher and tougher, I know, as the day goes by with government policies and the tightening and the squeezing that happens. I want to quote an MBTA president, Peter Fullerton, back last year in June on a CBC article. He made a very important statement that I think should catch everybody's attention, teachers, students, and parents alike. And he said this. He said, our education system is basically on the verge of imploding. Our families are being torn apart while the mother or the father travel out west or to Newfoundland to sustain the family back home. Our seniors are spending their latter years cramped up in hospital beds when they should be given a dignified living in a nursing or a special care home, but cannot because there's none available. How many times has the medical society and doctors all throughout this province cried out, we're at a pivotal moment in our healthcare system where wait times are getting longer, our emergency rooms are getting more cramped, our seniors do not have a dignified living in the special care or nursing home. Instead, they're stuck in a hospital bed where they don't need to be. What we are witnessing today, folks, in this province is decades of a failed two-party system that has plunged our communities into poverty and stripped our best and brightest of opportunities to prosper right here at home. I do believe there's hope. And I'm not talking about the campaign 3 months before an election, get up and rah, political deception and manipulation type of hope. I'm talking about a hope that if we get back to the basics of what we need from government and start managing our finances and our fiscal situation properly, there is hope for New Brunswick. We can turn this ship around. I'm convinced we can do it. In the last 6 years, the People's Alliance has been the marginalized voice of reason in a system filled with patronage, scandals, and backroom deals. As we've stated a couple times before, in 2010, we vehemently fought with others to stop the sale of MB Power to Hydro-Quebec. We continue to advocate for an end to duality and a more reasoned and common sense approach to bilingualism on a where numbers warrant basis. And I want to be clear about this tonight because I know there's a lot of misconceptions of what we stand for on language with the People's Alliance. And I want to tell you that as a party, we support bilingualism on a where numbers warrant basis. We understand that New Brunswick has a great diverse culture of French and English, among others, and we just believe that at the end of the day, we're all New Brunswickers and we're all in this ship together, and we've got to get some common sense to make it work. We've never shied away from taboo and controversial issues, especially when they directly affect us as taxpayers and when it affects our social and our economic fabric. Folks, we're at a point in our province today, and I think it's a global movement, that we can no longer allow political correctness to override our ability to debate and discuss critical topics that determine our future as a province. Now, just out of curiosity, how many of you attended the Strategic Program Review Tour? The rest of you missed quite a show. So get this. The government comes up with a great idea that they're going to consult the people on our economic situation and the budget, which at face value makes perfect sense. That's what government is supposed to do. So they set up stops or tours all throughout the province to get feedback from the public, from you and I as citizens, as voters, as residents of New Brunswick, to give some ideas on the budget and our economic situation, our fiscal challenges. And I remember the one in Minto. I'm from small town Minto, and I remember being at the one there, and I remember Victor Boudreau, who chaired the strategic review. He got up and he made it very clear that all things are on the table. And he went on about how desperate our fiscal situation is, how bad our economy is going to be, how we've got an aging population, our young people are leaving, and he painted this very bleak and dire picture of our province. And because of that picture, he stated again, all things are on the table. Well, if you've been to those strategic review programs, you quickly found out that all things are not on the table. As soon as we get up, we people, not just us as a party, but citizens, all over these program tours that were going on, they get up time and time again. They said, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to end duality and bring our people together instead of separating them with health authorities and school buses and all this other stuff. It's not working and it's costly. End duality, I heard it over and over again. Another thing I heard over and over again was end corporate welfare. I am personally insulted that my taxes are going up 2% in HST when I know that approximately $300 million of that tax money is going to fund some of the biggest corporations in New Brunswick, and we still have an unemployment rate close to 10%. I'm insulted by that. The people spoke. End duality, end corporate welfare, and freeze the wages of salaries over $150,000 in our civil service. That was another one that I heard over and over again. Once Mr. Boudreau began to hear these common sense, these real ideas coming out that would indeed balance the books and help with our debt, then all of a sudden it went from everything on the table to those things are not on the table. The government then, after the strategic program review is done and it's completed, they start this campaign, and they try to instill fear in the hearts of the people by talking about school closures. Remember reading in the news before the budget came out about rural hospitals could be on the line? We're not sure, but we could lose some hospitals. Schools, they could be on the chopping block. Well, the DOT and the civil service, you know, there could be some major cuts there as well. They weren't specific, but what they were doing was they were trying to get the people riled up and afraid that, oh my goodness, the government's going to slash and cut and we're all going to be left with nothing at the end of the day. So then when the government's got everybody in a frenzy, then they turn around and say, we're just going to raise your HST. And everybody takes a big sigh of relief and says, thank you so much, that's all you're going to do to us. I don't know about you folks, but I'm tired of the games. I'm tired of the games in politics. I'm tired of the games that come from government to try to convince us and spoon feed us to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm tired of drinking the Kool-Aid. We need a different approach to our economy, and we need a different approach to our province in social and economic terms. So let me throw out a few numbers that come out of the strategic program review. The first one, of course, was the raising of the HST from 13% to 15%. Now, by their numbers, they figure it's going to bring in revenue approximately $300 million a year. Now, those numbers are somewhat fuzzy because we really don't know. It's projected. The government is projecting what they're going to bring in. But the more industry we lose, the more jobs we lose, the less we bring in taxes and HST, which is common sense. So That's a fuzzy number. There's no guarantees on what we're really going to bring in the raise of HST. Another part of the budget that come out was the laying off of 200 DTI casual positions. And I'm thinking to myself, here are men and women that work 12 to 15 weeks a year, casual, trying to provide for their families so they can stay in New Brunswick. And the first thing the government goes after, it's not people making $350,000 of your tax dollars. They don't go after those folks. They go after the ones that are making $15, $16 an hour trying to keep their food on the table. That's the ones they go after. An additional 50 teaching positions they're looking to cut, either through attrition or layoffs. There's rumors of privatizing several DTI garages, sign shops, paint shops, light vehicles. We're hearing about privatization all over when we look at basic government services. Now this is a good one. I wonder how many of you folks have heard about this one, where the government is actually going to sell the names of government asset buildings for profit. Anybody hear about that? So they're going to take the name of government buildings, the names, and they're going to sell them to the highest bidder. And that's a projected revenue of about $1.2 million. Mickey Mouse. Despite these measures, of a raise in HST, cuts to DTI, teachers being a cut as well, privatization, selling of government buildings, selling of Mactaquac Provincial Park, and on and on and on. Despite it all, listen to this. Despite the budget, the projected deficit this year alone is $347 million. Not the debt, the deficit. That means this year we are projected as taxpayers, as a province, of spending $347 million more than what we bring in. Which leaves the combined total debt of our province at over $13 billion. Folks, let's be honest. New Brunswick has a population of approximately 750,000 people. We're the size of many cities across the world. And with a debt load of $13 billion, with an aging population, with young people leaving our province, plane load after plane load, the bottom has got to fall out of this thing, or we've got to change course. So, when the strategic program review was done and the government did their window dressing around the province, they then took all of the recommendations from the people and they put it in what they call the choices document or a choices report. And that was their way of simply saying, well, whatever we do from this point on in our budget, we can wash our hands of it because this is what the people chose. This is what the people told us to do. When in reality, they left out the main things that would actually balance the books and reduce the debt. So they put out the choices report, and they even had the audacity to ask us, or ask myself as a party leader, they asked the other party leaders as well, to pick which of the choices we would like the government to implement. So I said, we did up a letter, we responded. You can find the letter on our website, peoplesalliance.ca. You'll see the letter that I wrote there. It was a real good one that was written for us. But I said at that point, I said, you know what? Not only are we not going to pick the choices that you think the people want, but we're going to get out and we're going to inform the people of the choices that they've asked for that are not in that report. And that's what we're here to do tonight. We're here to show you that these are the choices that many of you have told us that we have tried to put together to balance the books, reduce the deficit and the debt as well, help pay off the debt. So back in 2014, one good thing the Conservative government did under David Alward was they brought in an act called the Accountability and Transparency Act. Now that bill, that legislation, was designed to make us as political parties, all of us, all 5 of us, have our platform audited before we go on the campaign trail. Because every party puts together a platform, we put the numbers in there, what we promise to do, what we're going to implement and all the stuff that goes with it. So the Conservatives said, look, we're going to put this bill forward. So now when we do our platform, we have to go to an independent auditor. He or she's got to look at the books and they have to audit that platform and say, yes, their math is reasonable, it makes sense, and it's good to go. So we complied with that. We did that. We put our platform together, we went to an auditor, and the auditor approved it, said the reasonableness of the platform makes sense, and it has passed the audit. Well, guess what Mr. Premier Gallant does when he gets in office? One of the first things he does, he repeals the Accountability and Transparency Act. So now going forward, they can continue to play games with the people of New Brunswick, promising things they know they can't deliver on, as they did last election, and they can continue it on and on and on, and it never ends until we change the way we do politics and the way we're governed. So here's some numbers that we're gonna put out. Some of these numbers were in our platform. These are numbers that we've worked on. Wes Gullison has put a lot of work into it. A lot of others, I know as Joel was here as well, he put a lot of work on it back then. A lot of people working on the platform. So here's a few things that they put out, that we put out as a party. First, again, end corporate welfare. If we stopped giving our tax dollars to bail out businesses and to pick winners and losers, if we just ended that practice, we would save approximately $300 million every year. So the same amount of money that the government's projecting will bring in with the raise of HST, $300 million, we could actually save that and offset the revenue so we don't have to raise taxes by just simply eliminating corporate welfare. If we took out of that $300 million savings to bail out some of the large corporations and to pick winners and losers, as we've done for decades, if we took simply $9 million of that 300, we could completely eliminate the small business tax in New Brunswick. Just eliminate it. So then anybody who wants to start a small business in this province can do so without paying any tax. So that, go ahead. So our bright young people, our families, our men and women that are working out west, that are waiting and dying to come home and get something started, if they could come back to New Brunswick with no small business tax, cut through the regulation and the nonsense that we put businesses through to get started up and let them actually set up, we can get New Brunswick back on the right track. Instead of propping up the big guys, let's take a portion of it and help the little guys and get the economy rolling again. Another thing we had in our platform, which we've been saying since 2012 and we continue to say to this day, is that in order to unite New Brunswick socially and to save money for all of us, we have to end duality in this province. And I want to tell you folks, that goes beyond the language issue. Do you know that merging Horizon and Vitalité, the two health authorities that we have in New Brunswick, if we were to take those two health authorities, now this is numbers that we were able to gather, this is also numbers that was verified by the former finance minister in the previous government, that if we merged Horizon and Vitalité into one bilingual health authority, we could save $60 million every year, and we wouldn't have to close one hospital or lay off one nurse to do it. Here a couple weeks ago, we started the process, or the government, the court started the process about the dual busing issue. And we had the opportunity to be there in the courtroom that day because we are, as a party, seeking intervener status for our members to tell the courts and to present a case as to why dual busing is not in the best interest of New Brunswickers, why we do not believe it's a constitutional issue, but instead we need our children. Look, if our children, we can't put our children on the same school bus, what does that say of our province? What does that say about us as a people? I mean, all around the world, they're ending segregation. We've seen this over and over again. And again, this is about cultures coming together. You know, my child, in grade 3, I tried to sign him up in French immersion because we live in a bilingual province, and regardless of bilinguals, I wanted him to learn the language. I didn't really have that opportunity. I wanted him to learn it. And when I went to sign him up in grade 3 in my community of Minto, it wasn't offered. So we call ourselves a bilingual province, but we give our children no opportunity to learn it unless they live in certain areas of the province. If we had buses that would allow all children on them, there's a chance my child may learn a little bit of French when he's on that bus from some of the French kids. socializing them. Another thing we said we would do in our platform, which we say we will continue to push for, is we believe we need to privatize the retail side of NB Liquor. I believe government's got their hands full with healthcare, education, infrastructure, plowing our roads, making sure our potholes are filled. The government's got enough to deal with. I don't think government needs to be in the business of selling beer and wine. That's just my thinking. Do you know that if we hung on to the distribution side of NB Liquor and we simply let go of the retail side of NB Liquor, that over 3 years we would save approximately $70 million? Chances are liquor prices would go down a little bit. Yeah, okay, don't get too excited about that one. Okay, go down a little bit. And not only that, but it would spur the economy, because now you have some competition. Now private business is coming out and they're competing with one another. They're setting up shops, they're selling the product, and you know, it would be one small part of New Brunswick to build the economic fabric of this province. Simple things. Simple things like not requiring a front license plate on the front of vehicles. What's that all about? We're one of the only provinces that do that anymore. Why do we have to have our vehicles registered every year? Huh? Did they forget that we own the vehicle? Right? Simple things can save money. Now it's a few $100,000 a year in printing costs and overhead administration, but it's just common sense things that we're committed to saying the government needs to do and implement these things and quit Mickey Mousing around with people's jobs making $15 an hour. We'd have a royalty review for our natural resources, and specifically a new Crown Forest Act that levels the playing field and adds value to our industry. Another recent one that's come out, and I am drawing down to a close, but a recent one that came out with the Auditor General's report. Did anybody have a chance to read that? Now, I'll tell you, grab yourself, one person I think, grab yourself a nice warm cup of milk, grab the Auditor General report just before bed, and you'll be out in no time. But you know what? Through the numbers, which can sometimes be a little overwhelming, she has an excellent ability to lay out where we're at as a province. And in that report, she actually specifically mentioned Greece as almost like you know, a picture of what could happen. Let's get this under control, because remember Greece and look at Greece. But another point that she brought out, which quite frankly I was unaware of, is that since 2008, I believe, the Atlantic Lottery Gaming Corporation has a contract with First Nations. And in that contract, the ALC is obligated to pay out so much of the revenue that it brings in to First Nations under agreements. We support that. We have no issue with that whatsoever. Fair is fair, and it's a contractual agreement with First Nations. However, since 2008, the government, through the Atlantic Lottery Corporation, has been overpaying in that agreement to the tune of $172,000 every single month. And it's all because of an accounting error. Okay? So since 2008, you and I as taxpayers, and the government and the ALC has been overpaying First Nations to the tune of $172,000 every month. Now, in 2013, somebody raised a red flag and said, hold on a second, something's, because nobody knew, government didn't know what was going on because of this error, but they caught it in 2013 under the Allward government. So did the Allward government do anything about it? No. The Allward government continued to overpay on that agreement. So Brian Gallant gets in office, the Premier, and do you think he would do anything about it? No. We still, to this day, continue to overpay on that agreement to the tune of $172,000 a month. Now, don't come to me as a government and tell me as a citizen that I've got to pay more taxes when you're not managing the money that you currently have in a proper and prudent manner. These are the small things that we believe need to be fixed to set our province on the right course. Now, in conclusion, folks, I want to say this. I understand the traditions that go with politics. I come from a political family myself, and you know, growing up it was red or it was blue. That's the way politics went. And I understand how entrenched that can become in us. It's almost like it becomes a part of our heritage or something. And you know, I remember my grandfather. He was a die-hard Toronto Maple Leafs fan. No applause? Now we got a few. He was a die-hard Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and on Saturday night when Hockey Night in Canada started, he would sit on the edge of his couch and he would not leave that seat until that game was done. And I'll tell you what, it didn't matter how bad the Leafs played. They could be absolutely rotten out on the ice, and he would cheer them on, and the next week he'd be cheering them on again. He was a die-hard Maple Leafs fan. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, in hockey, that type of loyalty is great, but in politics, it's killing our province. The only thing that I ask here as the party leader of the People's Alliance is that you take a moment, look at what we're saying, not what people are telling you we're about, okay? Because there's lots of fear-mongering out there. There's all kinds of rhetoric that's being said about us. All I'm asking is read on our website, our platform, what we said in 2014. Look at the press releases that we've put out, what we're saying today. If you've got questions, send us an email. We'll do our best to respond and find the answers that you're looking for, or at least you may not agree with it, but we'll give you the truth. And I think that's what's missing in politics. It's just a simple truth, telling people what you really think and getting things moving forward. So the truth is, today, we're stuck with this government for at least 2.5 years. However, I believe now is the time to start building a people's movement that can have adequate resources leading into 2018. The biggest complaint I get today, and I heard it even here tonight, is you didn't have a candidate in my riding. And I understand that, and believe me, we worked hard to get as many candidates as we could. But you know what our downfall was? We waited 6 months before the election to try to do it, and we were scrambling to get things lined up. We don't want to do that this time. Now is the time to help us build it. If you understand what we're saying, if you agree with what we're saying, you don't got to agree with it all by any means. If you find a perfect party out there, a political party, don't join it because you'll just ruin it. Because there is no perfect party, but we do have ideas and principles that we know can turn things around. So we're asking people now to have a look at what we're saying, take out a membership, volunteer. If you can donate financially, that's our biggest downfall right now, to be honest, is finances. We're up against the big players and the establishment. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're not going to quit because we know these things can work. And we're not set by any established agenda. We're not in anybody's back pocket but the people. And we want this to be a people's movement by which we can grow and build and have candidates in 49 ridings for 2018 and take this province by storm for the people. Again.